day of February. It is March 1st Eve officially today.
You know what's funny? I think that
of March.
I think every time that I'm trying to figure out, every time I want there to be a leap year, like every time I'm paying attention, there's not one, and somehow they're sneaking by me, and I cannot remember the last leap year we had.
It was last
Olympics
year.
And
was it really?
Election.
I don't remember. I have no idea.
It's always the same year as the presidential election and the Summer Olympics.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Like on the fours,
except for last year when they had Summer Olympics. Because
so
that year,
it was 2 years ago.
Because 2020. Did you guys ever know anyone? I think we've probably talked about this before, but what the heck? It's time for a leap year again. Did you ever know anyone in like elementary school? For me, I always think of it as an elementary school phenomenon where
the
somebody's
only
like,
place
"Oh,
that mattered."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I want to meet somebody as an adult who's like, "Oh yeah, I'm 12," but they would be like, "I'm 3 years old" because they were born on that day. And I know a guy,
but actually they were like 20, and they were just like, I'm in elementary school because I'm only 7 years old.
Guys. So I don't know. I just always like right around this time of year, I'm just looking to see like, is it a leap year? I thought, when did we have one? Maybe we're not really. I don't know. Anyway,
Jeremy, I'm happy to report that it is not leap year this year.
All right. Well,
California passed a law that said they're not doing leap year anymore, and so the rest of the West Coast has.
Arizona is on regular year time.
The Arizona does leap years, but they do it on an off year from everybody else.
I hate
they
that.
do it every 3 years instead of every 4.
I gotta look up no matter what time of year it is to see what time it is in Arizona. I hate that. I hate it.
I agree.
Yep.
It's like Arizona and like Bangladesh are like the only two places on Earth.
You know what's? It's fun too because sometimes there's time zones where there's like a half hour. Have you ever noticed those? Like there's like yeah. There's like a couple of countries and they're like, oh yeah, watch this.
Half hour. That's twisted.
Well,
it is.
Well, guys, this has been glorious. Really.
I mean, what? Show over. That's it.
Yeah. We got some video games to talk about. That's what we do on this show. If I failed to introduce the show, we talk about video games because why not?
Why? Yeah, sure. Agree.
No, there's no good reason not to. So here we are doing the thing.
If you're on YouTube, our names are right on there. You don't even need an introduction.
It's true. I'm not introducing anybody. Sorry. You can outintroduce us, Jeremy, at the end of the show.
Maybe I won't. I don't know.
Maybe you should.
If you want to get this bonus content of who's actually talking to you, you got to come live on YouTube. YouTube.com/GameBytes
If you didn't already know.
That's right.
But we talk about video games, and I tell you what, I've been playing the game. The game Elden Ring, the one that everyone's apparently talking about. Yeah. This came out Friday, Thursday?
Was it that long ago?
I
was thinking it was.
It was last Thursday.
Yeah,
no, it just barely came out last Thursday. Yeah. So, Elden Ring is it's a. I guess you kind of probably already know it's a Dark Souls game,
just like all of those games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the thing is I remember watching the trailer, trying to decide like is this a game I'm going to pick up or not, and I turned on some gameplays. I legit had seen nothing of this game, not a single trailer, like nothing at all. Maybe a couple screenshots here and there, but so I started watching this. I started watching this trailer.
Yep.
You were already dead. Oh man, that was it.
That's a hardcore game if I ever heard one.
I will say that this Elden Ring thing has not gotten as much traction in the Game Bytes show server. I thought that it would have been. Maybe it's just me not paying attention to it out there in the world. But
Jeremy, Total War Warhammer 3 came out.
Whoa!
Like 2 weeks ago.
Hey, you know what though? George R.R. Martin did not write the narrative for Total War Warhammer 3.
So it came out in a timely fashion.
Yeah. Well, what is the narrative like in Total War Warhammer 3? Let's kick it right over.
Well, so far I'm still in the tutorial campaign. I don't know how long this tutorial campaign goes on for, but I've been playing for several hours now.
That means you are the George R.R. Martin of Total War Warhammer 3.
I guess so. I'll tell you what is clear is that my protagonist is falling to chaos little by little. He's always making those decisions to like you know, we can use the tainted weapon. We'll be okay. You know, that sort of thing.
You're right.
And he just keeps doing that. He's like,
Forgotten door.
Yeah, we're gonna take advantage of this questionable power, but we're doing it for the right reasons. You know.
Yeah.
And
No big deal.
Yeah, and it's especially bad if you're familiar with the Warhammer chaos mythology, because there's this one that's called Tzeentch, and it's like the god of misdirection and misrepresentation and trickery and
You
all
said
this sort of stuff.
Tzeentch?
Yeah, yeah. It's
That
pretty
sounds like
sick.
when I chase my kids around with like little fingers. Like I'm
It
gonna
has
get
like
ya.
a T in it
Tzeentch.
and all
Yeah.
kinds of weird stuff. Don't worry about it.
Tzeentch. Yeah.
Wow.
But Tzeentch is all about like, you know, self-deception and like, you know, all sorts of like plans within plans within plans within, you know, exactly.
Right.
So of course, you know, you can be all high and mighty and think you know what you're doing and fall to Tzeentch, right? Well, the good news is that I wiped the Tzeentch faction off of the map in this campaign so far, and then I'm moving into the Khorne section. So if you're not familiar, Khorne is the chaos god of like martial
Hair metal.
Not the starch.
valor and
Oh.
like like just like bloodthirstiness, you know, blood for the blood god,
Yep.
skulls for the skull throne.
Oh yeah.
That's Khorne, right? And so I'm moving out of the Tzeentch lands into the Khorne lands.
Now is this predetermined in the campaign? Like you don't choose that you want to wipe out Tzeentch. It just that's how the game.
It's when you first load into the game, it's like you can start playing, or hey, here's the tutorial campaign. Still in the tutorial campaign, and so it's all like, you know, it's fairly guide railed, you know. Like I only just now, after several hours, have gotten the ability to recruit a second general to have a second army around the map, you know.
Yeah.
But it's walking me through all of the mechanics of like, here's how you move your army around, here's how you fight battles, here's how you do a siege, here's how you know, hide your archers in the woods, and here's how you do this and that. Here's how you like you sack a town, and then you take it and you establish your own base there, and then you know, you go through and you build your amenities, whether it's like a barracks type or like a marketplace type or a house of worship type or whatever.
Mhm.
And then, you know, you can upgrade them as the turns roll on and everything. So it has all that kind of like Total War stuff. But what I haven't really seen yet that has been my experience with Shogun 2, which is, I played a little bit of Rome 2, but really only Shogun 2 is kind of like my only experience with this series. Where it has that 4X type of thing, where you're like around the map and there's all these other factions that are doing their expansionist sort of thing, and you're contending with them. The tutorial at least hasn't really gotten into that. It's more been like almost like a StarCraft campaign or something, where it's like it's a set of discrete sort of challenges. It's like, so the next thing you're gonna do is do this, and then go do this, and then go do this one. But it's not like a StarCraft battle where it's like, here's the scenario. It's more like, after you go through this pass and take this fortress, now you got to go over that plain, and you know, there's a pitched battle where you're going to be attacked from both sides because reinforcements are going to come, and you got to deal with that, you know.
So is there a strategic element to this, or is it just a bunch of
I think it's in the moment, it's mostly a lot of tactical decisions on the battlefield. The strategic element comes in like your force makeup, how you recruit units into your army.
So you don't have to manage like territories or tax rates or anything like that. It's just
it's not that granular. It's more like a civilization. No, it's less intensive than a civilization sort of thing, because it's like, you know how in Civ you'll like have all your cities that you rotate through, and it's like, well, this one's going to be building this thing, this one's going to be building the other thing. It's more kind of like that, and less like you're adjusting tax rates and stuff like I have seen actually in Shogun 2, right? And I don't know, maybe that stuff does pop up later on, but my understanding of the other Warhammer games so far is that they are more like adventure campaign sorts of things.
They're a little more action oriented, but I think in the Warhammer series, now I haven't played 3, I don't know that you can adjust the tax rate, but I think you can choose whether you're going to tax a province or not.
Okay. Yeah.
But it might be different per faction, to be honest, because all the factions are very
yeah,
unique.
they're all in Warhammer, all the factions are so different. Whereas like in Shogun, it's like they're slightly different.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Everybody has a different little flag that looks like a
Yeah.
lotus.
Yeah, they maybe these guys are a little bit better at archery, and these ones are a little bit better
Right.
at naval combat.
Questionably, historically, these were the horse guys.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. That
Whatever.
sort of thing. Yeah. But again, I think I said this before, but I think that this game or this series within a series is, I think it's done a lot of favors by the fantastical nature of Warhammer, because it does allow them to simplify and exaggerate and
Yeah.
caricature, to some extent, and that sort of thing. And it's appropriately fantastic and bombastic, and so I think it's a really good chocolate peanut butter sort of thing. And I could see myself like playing a lot more of this one than in probably any other out there. Just because it does seem to be like I said, it's got that like melding of theme and mechanics, but it's also it seems like they've probably learned a little bit about like onboarding players in the decades that they've been making this series. So yeah, so far so good.
Well, that's I guess I'll be interested to see.
Oh, and it has the little every now and then it does the like RPG thing where it's like, here's a choice, and either way you pick a choice, you're gonna get a benefit this way or the other way.
Yeah.
And it's sort of just kind of like a role playing choice. But I think they are also clearly like trying to do kind of almost like a Paragon Renegade kind of thing. But either way, you guys gonna fall to chaos.
Like you can be the really good rat men if you want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So are you locked into a particular race for your campaign, or?
Well, for this intro campaign, you're playing as Kislev, which is the North people, like the Viking-esque. They're not really Viking, they're
Russian.
The Northmen. Yeah, that's actually way more true, isn't it? They're more like,
you can't say that this week.
They're more like Siberian.
There you go.
Oh, okay, that's okay.
Russian.
They ride bears and stuff.
Yeah,
oh, dang! All right.
They do. They have bear riders. The guy's name is Yuri. Whatever. So, yeah.
Very authentic.
Yeah.
They have like they have a Tsar guard, and there's a Tsarina Frost Princess or something. So yeah,
sure.
The other human faction that's in that game is based, Cathay, which is based on China, and also based on China is the Guild Wars 2 End of Dragons expansion that just came out.
Is it really? Come on, is it actually?
Yeah. Yeah, it's
really?
like
Okay,
it's
all
like
right.
all Asian themed.
they're just like Titan Quest.
We actually got a good segue in this podcast.
Yeah, I mean it was a little ham-fisted, but it works.
No,
It works.
I like it. I approve. Keep it going.
But yeah, so the Guild Wars 2, their latest expansion, their third expansion for the game, came out today, released at 9 Pacific time. So I loaded it up and spent a couple hours in it, and it is freaking awesome.
All right, now you got to justify this, because every time it's like freaking awesome, and it's like, here's some new quests, and maybe there's going to be like world fighting, and there's an epic weapon, and that's what I know about Guild Wars.
Okay, so the game is based in Cantha, which is the sort of Asian-inspired continent of the world. Which we have.
And has it existed before? Like, has there been?
It was in Guild Wars 1. It was actually the second campaign released for the original series.
Okay.
So we actually haven't been to it since Guild Wars 2 released, right? As a franchise.
How long ago was that?
That was like 12 years ago.
I was going to say 12, 15 years.
It was a long time ago.
It was 2012, so it was 10 years ago.
Okay.
When Guild Wars 2 released. So the second expansion of Guild Wars 1 would have come out like, I don't know, 2008 or something like that.
Well, I mean, Guild
So
Wars
it's been a
1,
while.
I still remember my character called Turgen Baumsfeld.
Nice. That's a
should go
good
back and play
name. You should. It's a good game.
Guild Wars 1.
Baumsfeld, I don't even know her.
So, yeah. So the story picks up right where it previously left off with the previous campaigns and expansions, or seasons that they do. Their kind of living world story. So I haven't gotten very far into that. Obviously, only a couple hours in. But it's funny when you like play a online game like this that kind of, as the developers get better and better with the engine improves. I mean, the graphics are roughly the same as what they were 10 years ago, But man, they made this game look really good with their design and some of the effects and stuff. It has like a vibrance to it, like the Trine series. You know what I mean? Where it's like everything's
yeah.
just like
Like a little too sparkly.
like
Super
it's just
super colorful.
saturated, like just really lushly, and it's just
Yeah.
it's like overdone. But you're like
Like
this
a
is
felt poster with a black lead on it.
Yes, this is so nice to look at, you know. So the big things they've added in the expansion are, well, more story, of course, but each class has a new elite specialization that's kind of a carryover. You know, they've been adding those one per expansion. They have 2 new mounts in the game, and of course, mounts in Guild Wars 2 are not just get on a horse and ride around. They all have like special abilities, right? And so the 2 mounts they've added in this expansion are both allow for multiplayer. So there is one called a siege turtle, which when you get on, you can like run around. He has got little like jetpacks on.
Turtles all the way down.
Yeah. And if another player gets on your mount with you, he then has like a mortar cannon that they can fire as you run around on the back of this giant turtle, which is just hilarious. And then the other is a skiff, like a boat. You can like sail around in your little boat. And you can have like friends on it and stuff and fish from it. Fishing is the other thing they've added. Other big thing they've added. So
Wow.
a couple of neat things. So far, nothing that's like, oh, we've never done this before. It's brand new concept, but a lot of the things they've been doing previously, you know, with it, and honestly, you know, when games try to get too crazy with some of the ideas they come out with, sometimes it's like, that didn't really work. So I'm kind of eager to just dive into it, have more of the world to explore. Of course, Factions was just an awesome place in the original game, so it's neat to be able to actually explore it in like 3D now and like jump around, kind of explore the maps.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I noticed that you did a stream this week, or you did a video upload this week
I did
from Outlands,
I did.
but not from Guild Wars. So
Well,
what's the
so-
how's the valuation here?
Okay, so the video it has no sound. Sorry, it was supposed to have sound, but it has none. And it's a battle that we did between orcs and humans, knights trying to capture
Warcraft?
a mine. No, it was in UO Outlands. And so it was a good event, and I did like a post event write up, and you know, we role played, and everyone yelled huzzah, whatever.
Yeah, so it sounds like there's more fun going on in Ultima.
Dude,
than
UO
in Guild
Outlands
Wars.
is the gift that keeps on giving. I don't talk about it anymore because you guys yell at me, but
Yeah, I'm giving you tacit permission, just in terms of tearing down Guild Wars 2, though. Like that's what I want to.
that's right. So they're very different games.
Okay, all right.
But no, it's Outlands is still great. I'm still
So-
playing it daily.
So what's the? I'm curious for Guild Wars. What's the? Because you know the other big expansion release that came out this last week was the new Destiny 2. And I guess what the first question that comes to my mind is Destiny is making you buy like all this stuff. Like you got to spend a bunch of money on expansions and stuff. What's the Guild Wars 2 model for that? Like, do you just buy this expansion and then you get the other stuff, or how do they?
So the base game is like free. You can pick that up now. Just go download it. It does have some limitations, I think, on amounts of characters you can create, etc. So you would get access to the expansion and that, and I believe they kind of changed this around a little bit. So I'm checking before I get to.
I just noticed the Guild Wars 2 is on GeForce Now.
It is, and it runs
and not
great.
and yeah, and you don't have to use like Steam or nothing. And that's usually a pretty big download. Like it's gigabytes and gigabytes
Mhm.
to get that game. So I don't know. I'm just going to add this to my library
Just do it. It's
because
worth
it's not part of Steam and it's not part of the Epic Game Store, so it doesn't automatically sync to my account. I just had to have searched for this and found it,
Yeah.
which I did. So hey, all
Um,
right.
You know, I actually don't know if it includes the previous ones, but I feel like it does because I don't know that you can purchase the other games.
I feel like they had
anymore.
done that in the past. I just wasn't sure if they had a special thing going on
looking.
for this. Well, anyway.
Oh, no,
whether
you know
or not-
what? It isn't. So you can buy the previous 2 expansions are one price, and then the newest
then
expansion
the new
is
one.
another. So they're $30 each, but if you get all 3, it's $50. So you save $10.
Oh, that's not bad. That's not bad at all.
Yeah, but you
Cool.
don't have to
That's fun.
buy the base game anymore. And it's also 10 years old.
Yeah, right. But it looks good. I heard somebody say
does.
it.
It looks
pretty,
great.
Looks pretty good. Well, this week, since we're not getting an Elden Ring report, Legrand's internet dropped, which is what happened in the middle of like his
Doggone.
ramping up.
Sentence.
The internet is going to kill you every time. Forget that Stone King of East March or whatever.
Right.
But I decided that I was going to play, because I did not want to play Elden Ring. I don't want to play, like, I actually talked about this on my other podcast, the Video Game Guru Show. Demon Souls crushed me. Like it hurt me so bad that I never went back to any. I did play Bloodborne a little bit, but I didn't enjoy it. I didn't like ever really get back on the horse. So I went looking for just something old to play, because it's been a long time since I've talked about anything from, more than like the 2000s, anything older than that. So I went looking on the Nintendo Switch online, because I go back there every few months, and they've added 4 or 5 new games and new old games.
Sure.
And I found something that I had never heard of before. A game from Electronic Arts, a game from EA called The Immortal on the NES. Are either of you guys familiar with this? Have you ever heard of this game?
Never even heard of it.
I never had. I
Yeah,
had no idea what it was.
so.
And I think, before I had played Demon Souls in 2009 or whatever, I mean, there are difficult games and stuff like that, but I really kind of feel like if you want to find the proto-genesis of Souls-like sorts of games, I actually think you're going to find it on the NES with this game, The Immortal. And I'm going to suggest to you that you might want to go try it out, because I feel like the Switch is the optimum place to play it, because it is the only legitimate platform that comes built in because of the emulation on it, with save states and with automatic rewind. I'm sure you could probably do that with some emulator somewhere. But if you have a Switch and you're doing online, if you have Animal Crossing or whatever, go try this out, because this thing is brutal. It makes me so angry. But with a little bit of distance, I think there's something kind of interesting to this game, The Immortal. The premise of the game is that you are a wizard who is, you start out the game delving into a dungeon in search of your magical master. You're the apprentice, and you're going into this dungeon. And the dungeon is fraught with all kinds of traps. Like there's fire spouts that come up off the floor. There's places where the floor just gives way automatically, like no warning, nothing like that. There are like little arrow shooters in the walls all over the place, and you can get shot a couple times, but then you die. And this game has that old school, like you die 3 times and you start at the very beginning again. Combat, you can, and it's real time. It kind of works a little bit like a roguelike, except, well, everybody's moving at the same time, so it really is real time. But it kind of takes place on this isometric sort of grid. So everything is pretty explicitly like you're moving into different spaces. And you as a wizard, you can cast spells like in the sort of overworld, I guess, if you want to call it that. You can throw as many fireballs as you want. The problem is they don't really do much. The game also will randomly spawn these little bats, and bats will just like pick away at your health. And if you're not careful, if you just like walk away from the, from the game for a minute, you'll come back and be dead, because these bats just like fly around and get you. So you can get those guys with the fireballs. There are also orcs, or I guess goblins is what they are, and then there are trolls in there as well. And basically you descend through different levels of this dungeon, and they're not big. You might have 5 or 6 rooms, but then these rooms are also interconnected. This game is not an action game alone, because it does have an action element to it. It also kind of works like an adventure game, like an old school brutal adventure game, because you have the opportunity sometimes to enter into dialogue with characters. Like, a goblin might be guarding a treasure chest, and he'll be like, "Don't come near me," and you like come near him, and then he attacks you or whatever. So you would have the opportunity to not do that. In later levels in the dungeon, you might find the Goblin King, and I happen to pick up a mushroom, or so you have like an inventory that has unique items. You can find gold and accumulate gold, which if you get enough of it, there's maybe like an individual shopkeeper. But it reminds me a little bit of some of those old school adventure games, like a King's Quest game, where you have bespoke specific characters. Like there is one encounter with the Goblin King, and it's always the same. And the idea of this game, I think, would be that not only do you have to navigate this sort of overworld with the perils and traps and sometimes like you use an item and it'll summon a worm. Like if you use this item bait, it summons like a sandworm or whatever, and it cracks through the bottom of the dungeon floor and eats you right there. And like that's what that thing does. So you might hold on to that for some later opportunity to use it, just like in an old school adventure game with an inventory. But then, for example, when I met the Goblin King, I happened to have this mushroom and it would sprout this fungus that would kill anybody in the room. So I dropped it and I found out that I would die. And under normal circumstances, I would, probably be sent back to the very beginning of the game in the dungeon level 1.
Right.
But because I've got the save states, I was like, oh, okay, rewind that, drop the fungus, leave the room, come back in. The Goblin King is dead from the fungus. And so I walk up there and he's like, oh, I'm not dead. Give me some water from the healing fountain. And I'm like, well, I don't have any healing water. You can, go kiss a whatever Goblin King. And so, but then I find him later on and he's like, do you remember me? I'm the Goblin King that you did not help and now you will die. And that was like 2 levels later, like a level or 2 later, after I had long since made that decision. And there was no chance for me to go back and to redo that choice. But back in the day, like if you think about books like choose your own adventure books, that's kind of how that worked.
Yeah.
And so at first this game was like really making me upset and I was really angry and I'm like, this is impossible. But playing it on the Switch, I could rewind. Oh, and by the way, combat. So the reason I liken this to these Souls-like games is not just because of all of this stuff, but because of the combat, which is incredibly difficult. It uses sort of it changes to a real-time action-based one-on-one kind of combat thing where you choose to dodge out of the way or to attack from a certain angle. So I guess it would be on the D-pad for the NES controller, you would hit the D-pad to left or right and then either attack or dodge. And you just kind of have to match that up with what's going on the other side. And they'll tear through your health points quick. So any given encounter in this game, think about playing this without save states. Like any given encounter in this game, you could die at any time. Like it could just happen. Walking around, you could just die at any time.
It's an NES game.
It's an NES game. And at first
funny.
I was like, I was genuinely really angry, which is how I get playing Souls games. I'm just like, this is baloney. But then when you figure out, like, think about this, when you go back and play that and you know that there's like this zombie dude is behind this pillar. And if you're not careful, he's going to gank you from behind or whatever. So then, when you play the next time, like there he is. And so you end up just like people speed running Dark Souls or whatever, like people know how stuff works. And that's kind of how this game works. And it kind of made me think of and I kind of softened a little bit on it, especially with the save states. Like if I had to play this, it would be completely unforgiving. I would hate it. But this is one of those games that I actually found with a little bit of technology, I actually kind of felt myself kind of appreciating it and admiring it for what it intends to be, which is not fun necessarily. Like they're not trying to make you have a good time, but
Fun.
Yeah, no. Who wants to play fun games? No. But it's a game that you learn and you conquer and you master. I mean, it's like Dragon's Lair or something, right? Like when you play Dragon's Lair,
you like overcome it. You don't
right,
you don't
exactly
enjoy it.
By brute damn force, you overcome it. And I was like, okay, so this game is not trying to be fair. It is trying to be a puzzle that you come back to over and over again to solve and unlock. And it really kind of felt like something from an era that is old and is new again. Like it made me think about like if Steve Wozniak were running a Dungeons and Dragons session or something like that, it would be like, oh, the gnome wizard tells you that you don't have enough gemstones or whatever, so he curses you, and that's just how it is. Like that's just what it's like to be a wizard going through a dungeon. So it is kind of a weird game, and I don't know if I'm really making it sound appealing or not. But I think really the fact that you can rewind at any moment and just be like, oh, okay, that's not how that happened, and do it again. And they will get you at some of those things where it's like, level 4, oh, you remember me, I'm the Goblin King. You back on level 2, you did me wrong. So it doesn't fix that, but still, just set a couple of save states at the different beginnings of the dungeon levels. And it was kind of like a little bit of like an archaeology dig for me. I was like, okay, I understand what we're going for now. And furthermore, I would say play this with a walkthrough, like actually look at a guide and go through it and whatever. And I don't know. After the first blush, I actually kind of appreciated it a lot more, especially considering I had never seen a game like this, an NES game. It wasn't like any real game that I had played on the NES, maybe like the isometric Snake Rattle and Roll, but that's a totally different kind of game. And it was kind of novel. So this is new right now. I mean, I don't know how new it is. I don't know when this hit the Switch Online, but if you have Switch and you're paying for that online service, go try this out. Abuse the save states and kind of enjoy it, and save yourself some money on buying Elden Ring.
I think I am still.
Yeah, do it. Try it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what double check to be sure, but I think I am.
That's what we've been playing this week, I reckon.
It's good stuff. New releases. There's actually a surprising amount of new releases. We save scummed these off of tech-gaming.com. New releases, sort of. The Steam Deck is out, I guess, to the first round of people who pre-ordered it. If you did.
How do you tell? Like, everyone was just like putting in orders. Did they tell you where you were in line?
Yeah, like I actually can go look, because I put one in.
I thought you canceled that. Are you still going to get it?
I don't think I'm going to get it. But if you didn't cancel,
how long do you have to decide?
Up until the moment they email you and say, do you still want to get it? And then after 72 hours, they drop you out of line.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I think
so you have to execute on the availability of the thing. You've got to.
Yes.
Okay.
And so you put down $5, and if you canceled within 30 days of putting in the order, you could get cash back. If you cancel after the 30 days, you can get $5 Steam credit. So whatever.
That's fair.
Also out, Elden Ring and Guild Wars 2 End of Dragons, 2 games featured in our games we're talking about, sort of.
Next week, LeGrand says he'll be back next week with 20 more hours of Elden Ring experience.
There you
You
go.
guys know Elden Ring's fine. Just he doesn't have to talk
Yeah.
about it. It's whatever. It's great
It's
for
true.
sure.
Yep.
Everybody's gonna love it and play it.
Some other notables I put here: Elex 2, which is a follow-up to like
Elex
Piranha
1?
Bytes. Yeah, obviously. But
I'm
it's
familiar with Elex.
Elex the second?
It's like the same guys that did. Oh my gosh, I hate when I start words and then can't think
Start
of what.
words and then can't.
Yeah.
THQ Piranha Bytes. Piranha Bytes also did. What did they do?
It was like one of my
Gothic, Risen.
That's the Gothic and the Risen series. My God. Anyway, those guys. Yeah.
They're
And
doing the
it's very similar.
Warhammer Darktide. They did Vermintide as well, right?
Mm-hmm. Also out, Far Changing Tides. Speaking of tide, Vermintide, Changing Tides, Far Changing Tides. It's a follow up to another game. Shadow Warrior 3.
Those Shadow Warrior games have been good. I didn't really play a lot of Shadow Warrior 2, but I am
You probably should have.
circumspect. Yeah, maybe should have. They were good.
Maybe it's on Xbox Game Pass.
Oh my gosh, totally gonna play it.
And the much beloved Conan Chop Chop.
I am totally gonna play Conan Chop Chop. Someone out there with the Conan license has just been doing kind of weird stuff. Conan in general is weird. Have you guys seen any of the like Conan ongoing comic series?
No.
He has like this like war pug or
yeah.
something that he rides around.
Yeah. There's a guy that I work with that is into Conan, especially since they rebooted the comics or whatever.
Yeah.
Does he just come into work wearing nothing but a loincloth?
Oh
Every day.
man.
And he's like all oiled.
He's so somebody made
all
so
the time. He's real.
you should
buff.
ask him about Conan Chop Chop and see if he wants to.
So fun story about Conan. It was like 2 years ago, and I think it was Father's Day or something. The wife had to get up. She wakes up at like 4 a.m. for work or something.
Ugh.
She's like, "What do you want to do for Father's Day?" I was like, "I think I want to watch Conan the Barbarian," and so I did, and it was awesome. It's like the last movie I've watched just like on my own.
Now, which one was it? Was it The Destroyer?
The Barbarian, the original. The first.
Okay, all right.
God, it was so good.
Yeah, that is good.
Anyway,
I approve of that.
I guess someone noted Apex Legends Mobile.
Yeah, Apex Legends, I guess still a thing. They're doing a mobile version in limited release. I thought it was interesting.
Yep, cool.
I'm not gonna play it.
Rad Switch, PC, Deck, Steam, Titles.com. Ammo Pigs, Cocked and Loaded. Like they're mixing their farm animal metaphors here.
Kind of, and like, are you if you're the ammo pigs, like, does that really do you much good? Like, wouldn't you rather be like the war pigs or something? Like, if you're just the ammo pigs.
I don't know. Also making the list is Conan Chop Chop.
Conan Chop Chop. Guys, I'm playing Conan Chop Chop this week. I'm going to bring back news next week of Conan Chop Chop.
All right. Deals and freebies. I noted here Steam has a remote Play Together sale starting
Oh,
today, 2/28
that's
to
cool.
3/7. So these are all games that support their remote play together functionality, which allows you basically to do like local co-op over the internet type thing.
Yeah, that's good.
Pretty neat. Xbox games with gold for March. You know what? I didn't actually open this, so that's not helpful.
There's
yeah. It's The Flame in the Flood for the entire month. Street Power Soccer from the 16th through April 15th. March 1st through the 15th is Sacred 2, which is actually a pretty entertaining little action RPG. And then SpongeBob Truth or Square.
yeah.
So
I've heard some of those SpongeBob games are good. Like apparently there
I-
is a
I would not put any stock at it whatsoever in a statement like that.
really.
yeah.
There's a lot of I've seen they were remaking SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom, and like a lot of people people seem to be really excited about it. So I think there's like some contingent of SpongeBob likers out there.
The
I think
issue
that's-
is
It's just the younger generation.
Yeah.
Is
The
it?
issue is there's some people that think SpongeBob was ever good, and it has skewed their
Now
outlook
SpongeBob
online.
has its moments. Come now.
All right. Also having its moments is PS Plus, which for March you can go get Ark Survival Evolved on the PlayStation 4, Team Sonic Racing PS4, Ghost Runner on the PS5, and Ghost of Tsushima Legends PS5
Oh, wow.
is the multiplayer version.
So how old is that game now?
It's like a year and a half,
year and a half?
So
something like that.
if you
Still
can't
seems
play
good.
Elden Ring,
But it's
go
not. But
play
it's not the single player though. It's just the
just the
multiplayer.
multiplayer.
It's like just like the expansion or add-on or whatever. So,
Okay.
Who knows?
but I would actually be really down to play Ghost of Tsushima. I wonder what
Canceling my PS Plus subscription.
yeah, you pre-order canceled.
I'm
Canceled.
buying a Steam Deck. This is bullcrap.
Yeah. Hey, we got some news and things going on out there in the wide world of video games. Since LeGrand is gone, I'm allowed to talk about the DICE Awards. I find the DICE Awards to be interesting because this is the industry voting on its own winners, which I think there's something interesting about
Didn't
that.
someone get up there and say F Bobby Kotick? Or was that a different show?
Did they? I don't know. They don't have that in the roundup here that I've got over at Game Informer.
Except
but-
they didn't say F, if you know what
No.
I mean.
They said fudge.
Forget that
Fudge.
guy. That's what they said.
I forget. Yeah. So a couple of things. First of all, the big winner this year at the DICE Awards was Ratchet and Clank: A Rift Apart, which took away all kinds of animation, art direction, technical achievements, all of that stuff.
Is
went
it
to
still
that.
Insomniac that makes it?
Yes, yeah, it is. So that was the big. I mean, I think that was like the one big PS5 like tentpole this last year. Although another winner there was Returnal, which I talked about a little bit. That was the sort of Metroid-esque roguelike repeating kind of space game, which I actually have gone back to a few times, and it's kind of been a slow burn, but I'm kind of actually getting more into it as time goes on. The games of the year included a range of things: family game Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, fighting game of the year Guilty Gear Strive, racing game of the year Forza Horizon 5, RPG of the year Final Fantasy 14 Endwalker, which I guess expansions can now be the role-playing game of the year. I don't know about that. Mario Golf Super Rush, which actually I did not play the Mario Golf game, and I actually probably really would like to do that. And the overall game of the year, in accordance with the Keeleys, the Game Awards, It Takes Two, which is a fine game. Like, I've played it. I'm kind of surprised that it has been consistently in a number of theaters game of the year.
I think those guys have really hit on something with their like couch co-op buddy game niche, because you don't see a lot of that, and for it to be given that basically AAA treatment, I think they've carved out a little niche, like I said.
Yeah, and not I can't think of anyone else doing that. Although there is the Steam Play sale going on right
Portal
now.
2,
So
right, there was something about Portal 2 the other day. So.
yeah. So anyhow, so that's how the industry sort of reckons itself this last year. Another way in which the industry reckons itself is in shame. We have here the news that the Bethesda PC launcher shutting down in shame. Shame. Missed my target this year. Bethesda. I should have thought of it. Why did I not? This is like when some celebrity dies and you're like, why did I not have that guy in my death pool?
This should have been really obvious when Microsoft bought them, right?
Oh yeah.
We should have.
Yeah, you know, that's interesting too, because I guess, I mean, that tells you where Microsoft is at as far as storefronts on the Windows platform, right? Like they're not interested in.
It's going to be part of the Xbox app now. Or whatever, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
well, and now when you launch, you know, Elder Scrolls Online on Steam, I guess you just go straight into the game.
Yeah, that's true. It is kind of nice not to have that launcher, to be honest.
But the Elder Scrolls launcher, the Elder Scrolls Online launcher, has always been
going to stay.
The Bethesda launcher. Right?
Oh, there's oh my gosh, I have no idea. I didn't know Bethesda had a totally separate.
See, that's the real shame.
They totally do. It's like Ubisoft, where they have the one that like if you go through Steam, you boot into like a light launcher thing.
If you want to play the original MS-DOS Doom, you open the Bethesda launcher.
Well,
play it that way.
So the Bethesda, like the actual Bethesda launcher, right? Like that's where they would give away their free copies of, you know, Arena.
That's the only reason I have it. I wonder if that's going to get folded into.
But what they're doing, it's interesting that Microsoft bought them, but they're going to give you like free copies of all the games that you have on their launcher on Steam and not anywhere else. It's just kind of interesting.
Fun fact about launchers: I still have in my bookmarks of online game stores Impulse.
Oh man!
Hey, I like that. I was thinking about Impulse the other day. They used to have like Impulse TV.
Sins of a Solar Empire, Jared.
Dude, yeah, that game's so good.
You know, I still have loaded, resident into memory, the high. Now I'm blanking on the name. The guys who did High Res Studios launcher, and I can't get rid of it. I cannot get rid of this. It's impossible. It's like with me for. It's like.
What would you want to? That game rules.
Yeah, I guess so. Hey, but you know, kind of dovetailing with this idea, here's something else about Valve and Microsoft and such, is that Valve has at least considered and may potentially be in discussion with Microsoft about having Xbox Game Pass made available through Steam, which is pretty, I mean, significant. He says that Valve does not really see the need to do a subscription service of their own, which, you know, I never really thought about setting up a PC game subscription service. That might have been kind of a decent idea, actually. But I mean, I don't know. They seem to be really sort of putting down the screws on things like discounts and stuff like that. So maybe they're trying to, I don't know what they're trying to do over there. But Gabe says in the interview. Yeah, I guess, that's what they're about right now. He says, Gabe says that we'd be more than happy to work with Microsoft to get that, meaning the Xbox Game Pass on Steam. He said that a subscription service isn't something that we think we need to do ourselves. He says that where they're at right now, as far as thinking market-wise, Valve and Microsoft have already spoken about selling Game Pass subscriptions on Steam. And he says that where they're at sort of ideologically at Valve is that if your customers want it, then you should figure out how to make it happen. That's where we're at.
You know, I currently subscribe to Final Fantasy 14 through Steam, so I don't see why Game Pass wouldn't work as well.
Yeah. Frankly, if I could just get all my Game Pass stuff to stream on GeForce Now, I would be the happiest little camper in the world. Like, I'd pay full price for something like that if they could even like combine the subscriptions or something. So I guess stay tuned for stuff like that. Maybe we'll see some consolidation and some other things going forward. Gabe also talked about how these large studio acquisitions over at Sony and Microsoft aren't really causing him any heartburn. He's not really too worried about any of this stuff. He says that he sat in boardrooms where people have talked about making decisions about an acquisition because they could fire a bunch of what are called G&A expenses. And he's like, really? That's what your strategy is? When you hear synergy, what it really means is you're going to fire a bunch of middle managers who are overhead. Someone whips out a spreadsheet, and I'm like, yeah, but I don't think you understand how many of your core developers and engineers you're going to lose because of these disruptions, et cetera, et cetera. So he says that this type of acquisition it doesn't really drive any sort of value to the product of that developer. He also says that he thinks that he says, as a president, I understand why it's a lot of fun to be mover and shaker and do these things. I just don't think that's a good enough reason to actually make things better for customers. So I suspect some of these acquisitions will, he says, get unwound. And some of them will turn out to be successful because in those cases, whoever is actually doing the acquisition has thought through how it's an additive thing, not how did I make my empire bigger, but what's the opportunity to do a better job of building great game experiences for the people. So seems like he's shooting straight.
I like Gabe. I've always liked Gabe. So high five.
And you know what? If you order his Steam Deck, maybe he'll come to your house and
He'll deliver
That's
it.
true.
Oh,
yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll talk. Yeah, that's right. It is now time for the news speed runs. Start the music. You already did it. Here we go.
Gabe personally out delivering Steam Decks caught on doorbell cams.
Pokemon Day. Nintendo had one of their annual, semi-annual Pokemon days. Pokemon were announced. We've got like Gen 9 now or something like that. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet.
There's only 150 guys.
Where does it end, you guys?
I know.
There's Pokemon. I only have so many pockets.
You know, Gabe has words for you. If you're just making your Pokemon empire bigger, really, what value are you adding? What value? To what end?
You need to go deeper.
That's right. That's right.
Well, Nintendo has acquired Studio SRD, who's worked on first-party, quote-unquote, franchises for a long time. I don't know what that means. I don't
Sounds like baloney.
I've never heard of SRD.
Sony refers to the Uncharted movie as its new hit franchise after a strong box office.
This is in accordance with Dale's prophetic. Who was it who voted high on this? Was it?
I did 75.
That's you then. That's
no,
you.
I called the what was it, the Rotten Tomatoes, but it seems like maybe Jared called the
Jared got it right.
Look,
status.
it doesn't have to be good to make money. That's what we've learned.
That is true. Speaking of which, BioWare is confirming that Dragon Age 4 is in the middle of full production. Whether it turns out good or not remains to be seen.
I still got to finish Dragon Age 1, 2.
Only
3.
play 1.
Same.
It's the only good one.
I have a strategy guide that's unopened for 1. I should play it.
It's probably
man,
relevant.
You could probably sell that on eBay for a lot of
I wonder if I could. I should check that out.
Elden Ring, you guys. Streamer numbers are nearly 6 times higher from Software's previous all-time high. What game was that, you think?
Probably their most recent one. I guess
Bloodborne?
it would be
Sekiro?
No, probably Sekiro. I don't know.
Sekiro?
Let's
Bloodborne?
see. Game Informer has the scoop on this one. It looks like previously it had been Sekiro with Dark Souls. Dark Souls 3, 129,000.
okay,
Sekiro peaked at
Yeah,
125. So,
Well, Elden Ring is taking the cake now, so that's cool.
nice.
Speaking
That's pretty good.
of taking the cake and eating it too, Final Fantasy 14 is allowing free trial players once again.
Nice. Konami has let the SilentHill.com web domain expire, and so some dude just bought it up and he's using it to troll things. Right now, he's got a message on there from, it looks like from a real tweet from art director Masahiro Ito that says, "I wish I hadn't designed frickin' Pyramid Head."
Nice. That's a good troll.
It is a good troll.
That is a good troll. Gabe Newell himself said that 50% of transactions were fraudulent when Valve was accepting Bitcoin, which I thought the whole point of Bitcoin was that it was.
That's what I thought too, was that it's all traceable with the blockchain or whatever it is.
Imagine
I don't know.
using fraudulent Bitcoin to buy fraudulent NFT games.
NFTs? Oh man. How deep does that rabbit hole go?
Man, is anything real anymore? Crypto hacker bros get data from NVIDIA servers and threaten to release it unless NVIDIA stops the GPU throttling for crypto mining.
Damn crypto bros.
I know. Hey, but then guess what? Then those crypto bros got hacked themselves in return. It is unclear whether this is a possible retaliation hack from NVIDIA.
I'm pretty sure it was the guys over at MiHoYo from the Genshin Impact developer who are spending their gacha gains on an experimental tokamak nuclear reactor. Nuclear reactor.
A nuclear reactor.
Tokamak.
That's probably the weirdest one. That's the weirdest thing I think that we've looked at this whole week.
Is it because they want to have like renewable energy source or something?
I think. Well, I think they have a.
It's for all their crypto mining.
Yeah, it says here, and I'm not sure if this is true or not, but over at PC Gamer, they said that Tech Otaku's Save the World is actually their company motto. So they might just be.
That's true.
They might just have a bunch of money, and they're like, "We're gonna make fusion happen."
All right.
I don't know.
And cute anime girls.
Yeah. So apparently, speaking of fusing games with a ban list. Rimworld
Okay.
has been banned in Australia due to objectionable depictions.
I need to write these things easier. I need to
Yeah,
go
what
like
are these
3 grade
words
levels
you're
down. Sorry.
But there is no word on all of the Rimworld likes that we've been discussing.
Oh, zing. Guys, that is going to do it for our speedrun news. That is also going to do it for our podcast this week. If you have any thoughts on any of the games that we've played, if you want to get in on Elden Ring before Legrand does, now's your chance. If you have any thoughts about the news, if you know what Genshin Impact means for the future of renewable energy in the world, let us know all about that stuff. You can find us on social media. Collectively, we are at Game Bytes Show on Twitter. You can also reach out to us individually. I am at Jeremy_Lamont.
I'm at Count Elmdor.
And I'm at red_I.
Fallen to his own hubris and
demons of
all of
internet.
those. Yeah, that's right. Legrand Jolly is dead out on Twitter at Legrand, Legrande. You can also find us on youtube.com, which is where you should find us now. This is kind of where we do things. youtube.com/GameByteShow. Also find a link to our GameByteShow.com website, where there is a link to our Discord server. You can come join us there. We have the back catalog of all of our podcasts there. Our syndicated stuff is there for you. You can share that and bring people in, kind of just tempt them a little bit with some of those canned episodes, so you get them over here to what's fresh and new. But you can join us on Discord. You can interact with us on a day-to-day basis. We've got friends of the Game Bytes Show now. Your streams will go live in our server. All sorts of bennies, all sorts of little benefits that you get from hanging out, chit-chatting with us. The freebies channel is alive and well. We've got the turn of the month coming up here, so we'll keep you in tune with all of the cool $0 stuff that you can get. And then, of course, we'll be back in a week to do the same thing all over again. Make sure to keep you entertained, informed, edified, and all sorts of things. And also Elden Ring. That's the other E, I guess, that we can do for that. So look forward to some actual Elden Ring
and End of Dragons.
End of Dragons. We'll probably be talking
Rear
about
end
that.
of dragons.
Whoa. Guys, that'll do it for this. That'll do it for this episode of your Game Bytes Show podcast. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next time.
Be seeing you.
Bye.